Alright, so it's finally time to install my gauge system. I got a triple gauge pod here, and I took a factory A-pillar from another car out of a wrecking yard, and I drilled holes in it, and that's where I'm going to run the wires through for this triple gauge pod. You can see here I angled the drill a little bit on the side there so the wires can run at an angle and they don't get cut on the sharp edges of it. And this is the factory pieces here that are going to clip into the A-pillar of the car, so I kept that all the way it is. So that will be really nice once I get that all worked out together. I drilled little holes here, and it comes with these tiny little Christmas tree push pin things, and these are the connectors here for the wideband, the fail-safe wideband, and here's the fail-safe wideband itself, and these are the dual interforce interceptor gauges, and I'll be putting those in, and that's why I got the triple pod there. So over here is where I've been drilling the holes and making a mess and getting everything ready. And I have a huge assortment here of drill bits that I've been using. And so that's going to be about where we'll start with this. So here we come, and here next day I'm looking it all over. This is the wiring harness. I've been capping off these extra wires. These extra wires all come in a bundle like this, and these are to tap into the car so that if you want to, you can set it up where it will shut the car off if you go out of parameter. It has a USB cord and everything so that you can plug it into a laptop and set up those parameters. I also have a boost line here. Now these are the dual interforce interceptor gauges that plugs into the OBD2, and it has two different gauges that run off that. And these are the little ends I've been using to cut those down. So now I've run the wires through here, even the boost line. I used just these cable ties, which are kind of like bread ties, what you find on a bag of bread at the store. That keeps the wires clean and wrapped together while I'm doing all this. I can go back later and zip tie them once I have them all finalized if I'd like, but they seem to hold pretty well. So I've been taking off this lower area. I'm gonna get, this is the switch here that goes to my heat exchanger fans, and one side of it's missing a screw, so I'm gonna get around to fixing that while I have this down. It's wired in here. So here's some pictures of all the wiring and everything. It looks like quite a mess when you look at it all, but here's the gauge pod and everything. It's ready to go in. The wideband gauge, it goes from like an O2 sensor looking sensor, which is what I had this exhaust welded and I had a bung welded in it ready. So it's basically like adding an O2 sensor to the car to make it work. And here's the harness and everything. I'll try, there it is right there. That's the new bung that's welded in with the new sensor. It actually has an old sensor in there right now that I had so I wouldn't have an exhaust leak while I was driving around in the meantime. But those wires come up through the here, the shifter area, and I just cut a small hole in the boot here to run it up there so that I don't have to drill holes into the body of the car. And then I'm running those up underneath the dash here, and with all the other ones that I'm running, and it looks kind of like a mess, but it's all organized. And here are all the wires coming up out of the dash. I did trim a little bit of the dash back in this corner here so that I would be able to run all the wires up. There's so many of them that are going to be coming up here, and yeah, they're just draped over the dash for now. So in this next shot you'll see I'm getting it all ready to go. Here's the triple pod that's all set up now, and I've run the wires all through, and I've decided to put the wideband in the top with a boost, and then the dual interforce interceptors will be in those lower two pods there. The only problem is I'm having an issue with the interceptors and they are not working. So we'll get to that in a minute here. So there's all my, you know, the glove box is open over there because that's where you have to tap into the boost. The factory boost line goes through the glove box there. So here are the power and ground cables. I put the rest of them in this bag, and as you saw earlier, I capped them off really nicely so those wires aren't going to anything, and then I put them in this nice bag so they all stay together. And back here behind the harness in the body of the car, kind of in this back fender area, is where I'm going to stuff the whole bag of them so I can get to them later if I do decide to do all that. So here I've got a bolt. It's actually an Allen and a nut on the back that fit. And I snug those down real tight so now the switch works without pulling it out and moving it around. So that will be ready to go back up now as soon as I'm finished with all of this. And it's going to be a lot cleaner than it was. So here I've gone ahead and found out where I'm going to ground. This is where the ground is going to go. I just loosened this one bolt here that's under the dash, and I'm going to tighten it up once I put the ground wire in there and get it all crimped shut and everything. It's going to turn out nicely, and I'll just put it in there and tighten things back up. Now here's the problem I have with the interforce gauges. I plug them in and all I'm getting is this light pulsing of LEDs. The display is completely blank. I went ahead and tried putting it in the Mach 1 to see if it worked, and it got just a tiny little glimpse of light there from those LEDs and still a blank screen. So I'm working with them right now to see how to get that resolved. Hopefully they will get back to me quickly because they're brand new and I paid over $400 for them. So here I've been looking in the owner's manual and decided where I wanted to run the ATA circuit for the power for the AEM wideband. I can still install that. And I looked in the owner's manual and found that this is the better place to run this. There was an empty slot here for the convertible top switch, and it has power as soon as you cycle the key, so I just added the ATA circuit to it, and I have 2 fuses in there in case one blows. Alright, moment of truth. There we go. Perfect. So now it's time to get the brand new sensor out of the box here. So this is a brand new wideband sensor. It's like an O2 sensor is what it looks like, and I'm going to go under there and install it. So I went ahead and it's kind of hard to see, but I put it in where it goes, and then I just ran the cable upwards. It's not going to touch the hot transmission or exhaust, and that's the plug right there in the center. And I got a zip tie and I tied it up where the body line is. Here's the sensor now. You can see the brand new sensor, and that's where it kind of loops upward and then to that connector there in the kind of top right of the screen, in the middle of the screen now. And there's where I zip tied it to the body, and that'll keep it from touching the hot exhaust. My O2 sensors are suspended up there with zip ties anyway, so it goes up there, up through the transmission, through that boot that I had already showed where I cut the boot a little bit to run the wires through. So now the boost line, this is an issue here because this is the boost line that goes all the way to the gauge, the new one, and if you look here you have the factory connection. Now it gives you this 3-way T, but I ended up cutting this off here. This is the factory connection, and it left me with a boost line that is too small for the T. So what I ended up doing was I got some of this extra vacuum line that I had cut off where it was too long on the other side, and I just snipped it right here and made little pieces that I could run from the original line through this to the T on those 3 different intersections, so that works out perfectly. That's where it comes from the engine, and it runs to the factory gauge and to my new gauge. So here's where it's all wrapped around up under the dash. I have it zip tied and cable tied in places where it won't be moving around, and the harness here with the ATA circuit and everything. So now I brought the car over to Danny Johnson's house. He has the program already uploaded on his laptop computer, and he made a video all about this, which is going to go into great detail. So here we're just changing the parameters on what I want it to read. Unfortunately, that little SVT sticker that I had put on the wideband, it was on there really nice, but I peeled it off because I decided to use this new wideband that faceplate that has boost on the outside perimeter. So you'll see in the videos that that sticker looks like it's peeling off, and it is. I'm going to have to go back and fix that. So I went ahead and went over there and did that, and we went and drove the car around, and it actually ran a little bit leaner than I would like, and I'm going return fuel system anyway with the car. I just wanted to see how the car was doing. I might have a fuel pump that's dying out on me or something, because when it was dyno tuned it was in the high 11s, and now it's reading into the 12s, even the high 12s. So you'll see in these videos here, we went out and drove it around, and it leaned out a little bit, so we got out of it. But here's some videos of that. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll end with the car here, a little startup and drive off, and then there'll be a video at the end here that shows us running the car. Whoa, 12.7, that's not good. Alright, so here we go, 4th gear, about 3,000 RPM. Here we go. 12.4, 5, 12.6, 12.8, yep. That was only to 4,000 RPM too. Yeah. Okay, 2nd gear. Alright, 4,000 RPM. Nope. Yeah, that was up to about 6,000 and it went to 12.6, 12.7. Yeah, so far too lean there. So this is exactly why I bought the gauges for the car. I didn't want to melt pistons and ruin the engine, because you never know when you have a dying fuel pump, or if the car wasn't tuned right, or if anything has changed on the car and you don't know about it. If I was out there running this car hard like I want to make videos of this ported Eaton screaming. I want to go out there and have some real fun with this car, but I wasn't going to do it until I knew the car was running safe. And it's not running very safe at full throttle, so that's just going to have to be what I do with the car. I won't be doing any more pulls with it or having any fun with it until I swap the new supercharger and return fuel system on it and get it dyno tuned. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate all the support and all the good comments and everything you guys do. Thanks for everything that you guys do to support the channel. And this is a beautiful car. I'm very happy with it. I'm really excited. And I just wanted to make sure it's running safe before I go out and be too hard on it. So stay tuned for more of the build of this Cobra. I'll be doing the VMP 2.65 liter supercharger, return fuel system, more IRS stuff with it. That's all in the future here. I bought all the parts. I'm waiting on a few parts actually that are in back order, so getting ready to have some more fun with the car. So stay tuned.